labeling. It's something we inadvertently do most every day. But what are the implications of this labeling? According to labeling theory, being labeled as a deviant leads a person to engage in deviant behavior.
Hello and good morning. You are listening to Social Podcast, Episode 7. Today, we are discussing the rise of crime in Los Angeles, California, and the causes of this epidemic. So let's get started. Hey everybody, this is your host, Jennifer Smith here, world-renowned author and news reporter. Welcome to Social Podcast. If this is your first time listening in, then thanks for coming. The Social Podcast is produced every Wednesday for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at www.socialpodcast.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow our podcast on Twitter at Social Podcaster and on Facebook. All links are in the show notes. Now, let's get into the show. Today, we will be bringing in local sociologists native to Los Angeles County to talk about crime rates and the increase of incarcerated citizens in Los Angeles. First, joining us today is Dr. Jones, who has been hired by LA County government to identify the core reasons of the rise of this crime. Hello, Doctor. What do you have to share with us today?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. After leading multiple investigations and researching and analyzing different data and statistics, our sociology department has first noticed a prominent majority of minorities, including African Americans and Hispanics, being arrested and imprisoned. This did not previously come to our attention, as we had not investigated further into the matter. We learned that these minorities had been put into jail for committing the same crimes that whites had.
Wow, this seems to be a very serious matter. For what reasons do you think that this is occurring in our society today?
Well, you see, although as a society we have pushed great efforts toward racial justice, there is still a persistent discrimination quite evident. This discrimination leads to minorities maintaining the label as deviants. This label sticks with them and they continue to act as their label. Our society is at fault as we continue to apply these rules and laws differently to different people. And in this case, it tends to apply more strictly to minorities. The consequence of crimes are differentiated by who commits the act, and this is wrong.
Thank you so much for your time today. It is consoling that this matter is being brought to light, and we can only hope that we can move forward from this to more racially equal community. Next, we have joining us today another sociologist that offers a different opinion and has come to share their perspective on this subject. Please welcome Dr. Peterson.
Hello, and thank you for having me on your show. Although I found Dr. Jones's opinion quite compelling, I do not believe race is a factor in our jail system and incarceration rates.
Interesting. Then what aspects of society do you believe factor in?
Sociologists and myself in my department believe it is a more internal and micro issue developed at the core of each individual incarcerated. And because of this, we have decided to work from within the jails and find out more about the convicts. In the jails we visited, we did not find a considerable difference in the reasons people were detained and did not believe the convicts could be compared based on their race. Because the populations of LA County cities are extremely diverse, it would make sense that there may be higher numbers of minorities in jail. What we did find to be an enormous factor on the people convicted was the number of crimes convicted. We found that the majority of people in the jails had committed many more than just a single crime. In fact, over 85% of them had committed more than 4 crimes in their lifetime, very close in proximity to the time that they committed their first crime.
So what does this tell us?
As sociologists, we believe this tells us that the leading factor of these high crime rates is that citizens commit a single crime, do the time for it, and then are released back into society where they are treated as social outcasts and feel compelled to commit more crimes. So, it is caused by society's tendency to label these citizens as deviants and therefore influence them to continue to commit more crimes. The problem is in society and how we treat our fellow citizens.
Thank you very much for your insight, Doctor, but unfortunately, that appears to be all the time we have for today. Stay tuned, and we hope you can come again next week as we bring in live guests to discuss how society works together to fix these menacing problems. I'm Jennifer Smith, and you just listened to a social podcast.